One more
there,
thing.
I can't see that. What's on your mug?
Oh.
2 words, one finger. What a great way to start the interview. Brilliant. Go on. Cool. I mean, I need to know, Illtech the cutter. I can't believe I've not asked you this before, but what was the last thing? Actually, I'm right, and I'll tell you what, I'll ask you 2 questions here to start off with. What was the last thing that you cut, being as you are a cutter, and what's your favorite thing to cut?
Oh, well, I mean, that goes without saying. It's vinyl records.
Yay.
And I practice every day still. I've been scratching since 1999. Got my turntables on December 13th, and that was when it began.
Oh, wow. Go on. You can remember specifically to the date. So was that your birthday then, or had you saved up or something?
It's the first thing that I ever bought for myself as like a young adult, teenager, I guess you could say.
Brilliant. Wow. Go on. And you still keep those chops fresh. You still keep that cut fresh and keep nice and sharp every single day.
Without a doubt. I mean, you never know when somebody's going to try to call you out. So even though it's been a while since I battled, like the last battle I think I was in 2014 with the DMCs. And that was in LA. That was pretty cool because that was my first like DMC experience. But after that, like life just got in the way, you know, of me like seeing like myself as like, oh, I want to pursue this as something, you know, of a career, so to speak. Instead, I went into building stages and shows and such.
Wow. So still very much involved in the whole kind of culture and the whole process of raves, but from a different side.
Right, exactly. I mean, I don't build raves so much. Sometimes I get to. It depends on how large their budgets are. The companies that I focus, their focus is mainly corporate.
So, right. So building like big event stages, like exhibitions and stuff like that, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
Cool. Besides, though, I don't think I've got. I need to know more. I need closure on this. Besides cutting tunes and being a scratcher, what was the last thing you actually had to cut with a pair of scissors or a knife?
Oh well, I mean, I always carry my knife, and mainly because you know it's for work, and this thing is just beat up. I mean, you could see like the ends of it. And it's dull. It's about as dull as a spoon. But yeah, I always have to cut tape. There's tape on cables. There's tape on cable trunks. There's tape wrapped around poles. There's tape on speakers, and like it always takes like a little bit of like a knife tip to like, you know, get it started so I could tear. So I'm constantly cutting tape.
Go on. That's the first. I've never had a knife pulled on me in an interview before. I'm glad. I'm glad it was over Zoom. Brilliant. God, that's amazing. I got way more than I asked for there. That's awesome. So obviously, I mean, we recently released your music. Recent in the grand scheme of things, really, it was only 6-7 months ago. I say, yeah, 6 months and 13 days ago because it was out on the 1st of January. So how have you been since the release of that?
I've been really good. Actually, surprisingly well, because I landed a new big contract with a large production company out here that's literally 20 minutes away from my house, and I never knew they existed. And I don't have to hit the freeways anymore and go all the way into LA to work now. I just literally take the side streets from my place all the way to work every day, Monday through Friday, and it's really been good. A lot of work though. I mean, like yesterday I had a 16-hour day with no breaks. So I woke up this morning like, oh my God, where am I? And my poor little guy, he's got a fever busting up as high as 102.1 Fahrenheit. It's like, oh. So the past couple of days have been challenging.
Wow.
I've been so focused on this production. I mean, in April and May, I got a combined total of 4 days off for the entire 2 months because we're so busy. And we're talking like we did this show in Atlanta, and it was 14 53-foot semi-truck trailers of gear.
Wow.
That's humongous. Still returning it. It's been 3 weeks, and I still haven't got it all returned. I'm the lead of the video department in the warehouse. So my specialty in my, professional label is a video specialist, but I would call myself more an entertainment technology specialist because they can pretty much stick me in any department. And this is where they needed help, so that's how I got in.
Wow. And I guess when you're dealing with events on that size, you're talking about huge, huge screens and stuff like that, really.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Go
have
on.
about 1,000 millimeter by 500 millimeter LED tiles, just in one
Wow.
kind, and then I have another 700 and another kind, which is 500 mil by 500 mil. It's in Unilumin 2.6. If you're in the industry, you know those. They're the first ones to really hit the markets. I got plenty of them too.
Wow. Wow. Go on. That's fascinating. I mean, I'm wondering if any of these big productions that you've been setting up are anything to do with the World Cup. Because I was going to ask, like, I'm kind of boycotting the World Cup this year because it's so expensive. And I hate how it's like money has ruined everything for so many, money's ruined everything in music as well, rah, rah, rah. But are you feeling the World Cup fever? And are any of the events that you've been working on related to the World Cup?
Sure. That's a good question. And the short answer is no. I didn't even know how long a soccer game was until yesterday. I was like, how long are these soccer games? um,
Brilliant.
yeah, I just don't have time for like TV most of the time. It's like between production kids and, all the bits that go in between those two things. Like, I don't have much time to watch TV. And if I do have time to watch TV, I'm playing video games. I'm not going to waste my time just sitting watching people yet. I mean, there's some TV shows that I like when I go to bed, but like sports and stuff like that, that takes too much energy. There's names, all the stats. Like, I don't got time for
Yeah, I
that.
haven't got
I'm filling my
headspace.
head with enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said that as well, especially with football. Like, I would try and sit down and watch football around World Cup in school so I could be like my normal friends. I'd be like, right, I'm going to sit down and watch a football match this time. I'm going to do it. 5 minutes later, I'd be out in the garden or upstairs tinkering with something or playing the guitar or lost interest completely.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, like, what is your sport? But it sounds like kind of your sport maybe for chilling out is video games, but then your pursuit is discipline. Pursuit is production. That is your sport in a way, maybe, and turntablism as well. Like,
It's all part of it. I mean, the grand aspects of my discipline is absolutely production in all faces of it. I mean, I know Grand MA at this point for lights. I know Master Electrics for show power. I'm obviously an accomplished, audio technician. I'm also now video specialist, which I've been building LED walls. LED walls has kind of been the main thing over the last decade for shows. So it just like was kind of like a natural progression. But you were asking about whether or not we had any involvement in
mm,
World Cup, and it's no, we didn't have any involvement this year. But a crew that I used to work for back when I was doing nothing but rigging, basically their contract is the SoFi Stadium. So I'm sure a bunch of old coworkers and stuff were all up in there working that event, dealing with all the structure that was being built and handling power operations. So that being said, like not us, but definitely people that are tied to us and myself definitely are there working their butts off and suffering for it to make everybody's experience really great. And SoFi Stadium is like one of the most amazing stadiums I've ever seen. I was lucky enough to get to watch it being built, so I was one of the
wow,
riggers of the Coliseum while that structure was being built. So everything that was happening in the Coliseum, whether it was for the college or for some, other party that was coming in and renting the Coliseum out, we were in there building all those structures in and around that Coliseum. And I was lucky enough to be a part of all that, and definitely
wow.
gave me the opportunities that I have now as a professional entertainment technology technician, which is, just kind of like a broad umbrella of like, A1, L1, V1, entertainment rigger, and ME. And that pretty much covers the entire aspect of, show production. And now, like, I'm getting to add warehouse operations because this is the first time I've ever worked for a large production that has a warehouse operations at this level. Like, I've gone into people's warehouses to help them out, but, like, now, like, I'm fully in charge of an entire department. And it's like, oh
Wow.
my God, I thought it was hard building shows. and I had rough
So you're
days.
responsible for like infantry and everything like that, then, and making sure that everything is going back to the right place or stored in the right place. People know where to find it, and that it's fully operational and not broken when people find it, and all of that really important stuff, which I imagine is a
Pulling it,
massive, massive head fuck.
yeah, and then pulling it and putting it back on the trucks and making sure they got the right gear so they can break it out and build the show. And that's the
Wow.
stressful part, because if I mess up, if I miss anything, or something wasn't, correctly checked and packaged right for them, especially with these cameras. I mean, we got $100,000 control units going out, and there's 50 pieces to like one machine. And I have to check and make sure
Wow.
they're all there, because if they break it out and that camera isn't able to be put together, or that wall isn't able to be put together, or that truss system isn't able to be put together, I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
Big trouble.
massively.
Because
Yeah.
these guys they're gonna be in another city, possibly even in another country. Like my direct boss is in Croatia right now, on a big
Wow.
video build, so we're international at this point. And shout out to Bright Ideas, love you guys.
Go on. So, I mean, we're going a little bit off topic here, and we will get to the release and everything in a moment. But I want to know, like, what's been the most intense situation you've had within your career, kind of as a rigger in all of these different kind of capacities and the levels that you've achieved? What's been the most intense, or maybe scary, or kind of, yeah, what, like, give me a thrilling story
Well,
that I wouldn't have expected to hear.
yeah. So I got to build Paul McCartney's set for his last tour. I
Wow,
didn't
go
build
on.
the show. I built the pre-production rig inside. I think we were in Warner Brothers Studios, in one of the big giant warehouses, and we were putting up it was 200-foot wide by 100-foot high video wall, and all the lights, so that way production could flash the rig that was going to be going out for them. And there was a problem with one of the points, and they had these row of lights, and I've never seen these lights before in my life, but each light weighed 1,000 pounds, and they had 40 of them in two rows, so it was 20 and 20. And one of the points wasn't taken, so the lighting system was sagging, like it was smiling.
Whoa.
So the head rigger, or the rigger beneath the head rigger, said, "Hey, we're going to land this, and the 10 of you are going to grab this and balance it and make sure it doesn't fall over while it's on the ground." 20,000 pounds is what he's asking 10 of us to hold
What?
upright. And I said, "Hey, this isn't a good idea, man. Like, if this thing falls, like, we're not going to be able to hold this up. It's gonna hit the ground."
Yeah.
And like, mind you, it was like waist high. So, like when he lands it, it's like we're holding on to it at waist high. And he's like, "You know what? Just do what you're told, man." And I was like, "Oh, okay." It's like that, I guess. And like, I looked at the other guys, and they're like shaking their heads like, "This is a bad idea." And it's like, well, I said something. And generally, it was kind of like my place to say things when they're unsafe. That's kind of always been, the roles that I've kind of had. It's like, I take care of my people, and we take care of each other, and we always watch out for each other, because the job can get dangerous real fast. And this is a perfect example of it. So he lands this 20,000 pounds of lights in front of us. And I said to the guys, I said, "If this thing lurches forward or back, make sure you put everything you have in it. Do not let this thing fall." And like, I'm thinking of it because we're pinched in between the carts for these lights, and each cart can take, I believe, 2, and the cart itself weighs 700 pounds. So there's no chances of us moving. There's only a space of about a foot behind us.
What?
And there was these crazy like bars on them too, because they land them in like cups, so that way they don't fall out.
Right.
So the bars are at the back of our calves and our knees, right? So if it fell towards us, it was going to sit us down in between these carts and break our legs all at the knees. And sure enough, as soon as he let the points off and it was in our hands, that damn thing leaned forward. Everybody overcorrected, and it started coming back on us. And that's when I was like, "Do not let it fall!" And we all had to push harder than we could ever while the rigger, his hands were shaking like this, and he couldn't figure out his switches on his prism to get it to take weight. He dropped it down more, so he had even more slack on the steel. And I mean, it was a 10 seconds of like life or death fighting. And then he finally got it to take weight, and he lifted it up, and we were able to relax. And like, we're all shooken bad. And that's when the head rigger comes around the corner. That's it. This day's over. You get off of my site, he told this rigger guy. Get the F off my site. He looked at us and said, you guys okay? And we're like, yeah. Wow. And he's like, you guys cut. You're done for the day. We're calling it. It's over. And that was the end of the day, and that guy did not return to that production.
Wow. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
That was one of the scariest moments of my professional career. It was just like, holy crap. And it would have been 10 of us, and our legs would have just, we probably wouldn't have walked over again. Not normally.
Wow. Paul McCartney would be unaware of this whole situation.
He
this
was
is
in
what
the trailer in the back the entire time. He never came out. Yeah, he was just chilling in his little like caravan. He had no idea that it even happened.
Oh, right. Okay. If he had no idea it even happened. Yeah, I guess they wouldn't be like, yo, Paul, like the 10 men might get their legs completely squished here. Wow. So you met Paul McCartney during that? Did you see him around and about and stuff like that?
Nope. He never came out of his production trailer while I was there. When we finally had it all built, they shoo us away.
Yeah.
Because we were just hands. We weren't part of the main production. And that was it. But I mean, that was the highlight. Like, hey, I was in the same building as that guy. I think that's pretty substantial. That's substantial for me that my energy that got that close to his.
Absolutely.
You could feel it in the room for sure.
Playing a role within an absolute legends kind of show and being part of that and stuff. That's amazing. Now let's talk about that's one form of production. Let's talk about your productions now. And it's great to see this release because I know that I know at least one of the tracks we've had on the demo drop, haven't we? Maybe two of them. Yeah, that's right. I mean, tell me all about kind of over how much this has kind of developed. Tell us about how you've kind of, because it feels like from doing demo drop for 2 years and hearing your productions coming in and stuff like that, it feels like this is the most accomplished release you've put out so far, and that you've really kind of started to find your sound and your technique and things like that. I mean, how would it be fair to say that? What do you think about that?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, thank God I got to meet Current Value, and he kind of took me under his wing and led me to where I'm at with my production, because without him, it would have never came to fruition. I had been spinning my wheels in the mud since 2007 with production. It was just like one of those things, like no one would tell me what I was doing wrong for so many years. It's like everybody was just like, yeah, it sounds like you're on the right path. Yeah, you can make music, definitely, but it's like we all knew, like, something's wrong with it, something's wrong with it. Anybody that did know, they would never speak up. And, obviously those that would try to help, like, they didn't know how to fix it either. And music's a tricky thing, because it's absolutely a puzzle. Every song.
And it's a very personal puzzle as well. And I think around in those times, before like kind of lots of tutorials and information was coming out, people kept their production techniques quite closely guarded, didn't they? People weren't anywhere near as willing. Like now, sharing is the main thing, that everybody shares their knowledge. But it wasn't like that back in those earlier times, was it?
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially like in the early 2000s, like it was all secrets and tricks of the trade. But it's good that we've grown past that. I mean, I can understand why everybody was the way they were starting out, and why it was so like competitive, especially in drum and bass, because it was rough trying to come up as a junglist in the scene. The thing that kind of gave me credit with all the rest of the guys and girls that were in the scene was, the fact I could scratch and juggle, and I would do like what they do with hip hop with drum and bass, and people thought that was cool. So then, rightfully so, I still think it's awesome as well. But like I realized, after a certain span of my career, just as a DJ alone, that being just a DJ wasn't going to like lead me to where I wanted to be. Most of the DJs that wanted to be professional and make money, at least that were like drum and bass, they went in like corporate wedding stuff, and they became wedding DJs and you know, those types of DJs where they would take requests and do all that stuff. And it's like, I just don't really care for any other music. So that's not going to work for me, you know, going and being a wedding DJ and playing all this stuff that I can't stand. And I'm pretty passionate about what I can't stand. I can find a lot of things that I like in a lot of different types of music, but you know, on a regular, like, I listen to 2 radio shows. I listen to the Dave Clark podcast, and he plays like new wave rock that's, you know, sounds kind of old, but it's new bands coming out from across the world.
Dave Clark, the techno guy.
Yeah, he might be. Yeah, he's a DJ. He mixes the whole podcast. He's like got, you know, stem mixing going on, and it's pretty cool. It's definitely a podcast worth checking out. And then Vision Radio, of course.
Of course.
And so yeah. And then one more thing, of course. These are the places where I travel to find my music, to listen and to have my relaxation time. Or, you know, back to like the sports thing you're asking, what's my sports like? I do downhill mountain biking and I do boogie boarding since I lived here on the coast, and I spend, you know, quite a bit of time doing those 2 things on the weekend. So it's, if I'm on my bike, it's absolutely drum and bass. So I got to be listening to it. It makes so much sense, like driving fast or going fast. Drum and bass is just fast music. I love it. And you can go slow too, but man, it's the best when you got a little bit of speed with it.
Oh man. I'm terrified of riding a bike with headphones on, though. If it's like, if you going down mountains as well, so it's all terrain and stuff like that. Yeah. In general, I smoke a little bit of weed before I do it too, so it's quite the ride. Well, that can chill you out a little bit and kind of slow you down a little bit, so you're not as fast paced as the journey. So I get that bit, but yeah, I never, like, riding a bike with headphones on, I've never been able to kind of get that. Most things require music as a standard, but mountain biking, I found I want to hear the rest of the world around me. I want to hear that stone that's going to hit the wheel and make me go flying and lose my teeth, or the rest of my teeth.
Well, hopefully that never happens, first off. And yeah, fingers crossed. It could definitely be something that would knock somebody's doing off. I'm super ADHD and got the ism, so, you know, I always focusing on a million things at once. So it's nice to be able to, like, have my focus center down, like I'm only hearing the sound and I'm only seeing the path in front of me and feeling the world, you know, and that kind of focus for me is really nice, because then all of a sudden it's like I get my release from all the stress of the world and from my job and from, you know, anything that's happening at home, which I've got a really happy home life, but, you know, it's like there's struggles, like, you know, my son's got a fever right now and he's up and down with the sickness.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that stuff's stressful. I didn't really sleep the first night of it, because it's like, oh no, like the 102.2, you know, like 2 more degrees and we're on our way to the hospital.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I didn't really sleep that first night, but yeah, being able to ride the bike and do the beach, that generally clears me, gives me the reset that I need to come into this whole production thing. And you're asking me, you know, what's it like having, you know, it evolve into what it's become? It's a dream come true, to answer that question. I've worked my whole life to, like, be able to figure this out and to put this sound down and have the world go, oh yeah, that's it. That's that shit right there. And it's like, finally, you know, it happened for me with you, with Current Value and MCR and Dean Rodell and now with BrainRave, with Marc and Ian and the rest of the BrainRave family. I mean, it's just like, woo, talk about lucky, right? I mean, you don't get much more blessed than that. So
that's amazing, really. And I'm buzzing that we played a role in that, really, in that type of way. And I always think about kind of like people's reactions to your productions in the demo drop, because they'd be kind of so, and we're going to get to your kind of approach on arrangement and style, because you do not give a shit about formats that everybody else is using, and I think that's amazing. I think that's what stands out to Marc as well, or one of the many things. But but seeing people's reactions is specifically, I would say, to yours, because they were so standout and stuff. And then kind of having, when I've got a guest like Sonnet or Lakeway on and stuff, and then I remember Dysfunction was really into one of your tracks, and like seeing, because it's all right for me, I can sit here and kind of give comment on, but I'm not a producer, so it's always really interesting when I see the other producers kind of take, like, like more technical guests and stuff. So it's really cool that the demo drop has played a role in that progress, really. And I think, as you say, like kind of current value put the key in the door for you, didn't he, and actually showed you the path to be exploring, and that was the door you've been missing for all those years before, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And that was it's I'm glad you brought that up, because he was just like, so what's your deal? And I was, my deal is like, I can't get an honest answer out of anybody. Like, I know there's something wrong with my production, I just don't know what it is. And he goes, well, I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth about everything. I said, everything, including mastering? He said, yeah, absolutely. I'll show you everything that we do. I said, no way. Like, I've heard this before, I won't name names, but I've worked with a couple other professionals before that, and they're still gatekeeping. And Tim, that wasn't the case. He did not gatekeep at all, and he answered every question that I had, no matter how important it was. Like, especially when it was finally came down, I was like, all right, so how do we master it? Because that's the big trick, right? And he was just like, oh, it's just this. And I went, no way. That's all they're doing? He said, that's it. And I said, man, oh. So, like, I was almost there on my own, but there was still parts, and that was just getting it loud. Like, I had almost figured it out completely on my own at that point. But he clarified that I was, like, on the right track. And he's like, but this is how we do it. And he's like, oh, that's how I'm going to do it then. But, like, there was, like, other things that were impossible for me to understand. And it took a while for him to understand, too, because my computer didn't work with certain plugins correctly. And it took a lot of troubleshooting to figure it out. But we eventually did, and we found a plug-in chain that actually worked to help me create the dynamics that's necessary for our sound.
Right. So he's kind of helped you with that kind of troubleshooting, and it sounds like you're in the kind of perfect setup, as perfect as, kind of where you can be at right now. And the Chemicals EP is a reflection, an embodiment of where you're at now, really, isn't it? This is your most accomplished EP. And I got, like, obviously, Marc, to anybody who might be, if this video comes out and people are watching it or reading it, like, obviously I mentored Marc for 18 months, and it was an amazing time, and it was great to see him develop, and now it's awesome seeing him flourish as a label manager. And I think because I spread myself so thinly, and he's very much focused on BrainRave, I know he does label management a hell of a lot better than me. And I've got things I could learn off him now instead of the other way around, which is amazing. And what it's all about, really, sharing knowledge, as we were just saying. Well, what's it like working with BrainRave? I'm kind of being one of their kind of, I really like how they're branching out and having a bit of a different sound, and he's looking for things that are really different and experimental and pushing the boundaries. What's it like working with them at the moment?
Honestly, I couldn't think of a better group of people to work with. There's been, like, some interesting developments because my production started finally getting through that wall to the label heads for their ears to give feedback on. And once I started, like, getting feedback, there was a couple contracts that came through, and it was just like, whoa, what are those? Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't think I could sign that. And when BrainRave's contract came through, because that's really when somebody shows you, like, who they are. And when their contract came through and the way it read, and just how it was mostly like a supporting contract to say, hey, we're going to make sure you get the larger portion of everything that comes out of your production, because it is your production. And we're just here to facilitate it going out and getting into the hands of the masses. And it's like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And, to see that type of contract come through, especially this early in my career, that's kind of reserved for, people that have been in the industry releasing music for a little longer, was definitely the respect that I needed to see in order to feel like, hey, I can give you guys anything. I feel comfortable giving you all my new stuff, even without a contract. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about being in your care. So because there was definitely some other labels that were just like, holy crap, like you're really trying to just like burn me down for everything I've worked for, and that was wild. That blew me away. I couldn't believe that was like how some of these labels work, because this was my first experience in it, and I was like, oh, that sucks.
It's such a shame, really. It's such a shame because I mean, it's so much hard work goes into production and learning your skills, and so much hard work goes into running a label, way more than I think a lot of people think in terms of promotion and really cutting through the noise. For such little return, like every month I see my sickness statement, and it's like, oh man, all that effort, all those hours for we're talking pounds, really, and I know that other labels have other economies. It's economy of scale, and when you get bigger, there is more money to be made. But it seems such a shame to be ripping off the people, exploiting the people who are actually making this magic in the first place. And we're all supposed to be on the same side. And labels when they're in the form that kind of BrainRave are a great example, and Marc's passion and stuff. BrainRaves are a way, labels like that are a way of kind of really getting music out to people and helping it flourish and helping the whole scene flourish. And it's a supportive thing, not an exploitative thing. And it's a real shame that not all labels kind of think like that in that type of way. This is an interesting one, and it's not in the questions I've sent you. You're obviously dealing with people from America. You're probably dealing with some American labels and some European labels and UK labels. Is there a difference from your point of view as an American producer, active in a largely kind of European and UK sound? Is there a difference between different territories and the labels that you're dealing with? And I'm not asking for specific names or dirt dishing, but can you see different kind of behaviors or treatment of artists depending on what territories they're based in?
I mean, America, what could I say? It's like, I wish that Americans supported each other more for the right reasons. Like, obviously, I get some support here. The scenes are really small, so like it's not like there's a whole ton of money involved in the productions here in America. There are a few that have larger budgets and stuff like that can afford like top names and stuff like that. But like, because it's so small and everybody wants a piece of that, same pie out here, there's a lot of territory, is the way that I would put it. And when it comes to like, treatment of artists and stuff like that, like they treat like Ed Rush, like gold, because he is and he deserves it, but like, we've got, our own here that could be at that level, with their production, that are at that level with their production, that get no nod to credit. And these producers like myself, have to go across to the UK and beyond, like Germany, to get any sort of like, hey, like, yeah, this is good enough. We did this, like pat on the back, like, let's work with you. Let's get this out to the world. When, it's like in our own home, there's a label right down the street that should be signing, some of these guys, like there's a label, Schedule One, awesome whole collective. And they put out some of the best producers and some of the best music, and there was so much that came out from them, and this was all in our own, part of the world, and I never once saw those guys get put up on some of the bigger shows, and I'll leave their names out, you know what I mean? And these producers, like, deserved it all. N2O is another one of those big, like, explosions in America that should have, like, dominated across everything, and it fizzled out because of all the territory of the other crews kind of like pushing it in on itself, and then eventually like the poison, within their own crew eventually took them all down, and the label dissolved. N2O Records, Conscious Oxide Entertainment, was no more. Free Burning Records was ended. And
that's a shame.
They almost had the concert tours for all, like, Slipknot and stuff like that. DJ Starscream was a part of that label. He put some records out on N2O, and that was like my first crew that I was like, I met Nate Loke, and he's like, yeah, you're in, like, REW, General Malice, all those guys, like, they were my idols. And when Nate Loke said that I was in, I was just so young, and I was on the very end of it, and then everything fell apart, you know, because of, you know, greed and stuff like that. But it was like, again, that's just kind of the rinse and repeat of American history, is that, you know, it's greed that kind of kills the whole situation. Like, there's always that one person that's like, no, I want it my way, and it's got to be my way, and I'm not sharing at all. And, you know, that causes the exclusion of all these people that actually, you know, deserve to be, you know, they're promoted and put on, but, you know, because they're, you know, they've got their own little lane and they're not letting anybody fly in it. You know, that's just kind of like the reason why I feel like drum and bass in America hasn't really grown any bigger than what it could be, you know, just because of all that competition and all that territory that, you know, comes from, you know, it being a small scene and only having, you know, certain individuals being able to front those bills, you know, those high costs that come over from, you know, European tours.
Yeah, totally. That's really interesting, because I think some of that, you know, and it is that competitive spirit that's kind of all part of, is all part and parcel of American culture and the American dream and all of these type of things. Like, but part of that is a really good spark for a lot of activity and a lot of creativity. But like you say, it takes that one bad apple, that one element of greed. I mean, and then, you know, the most obvious example being Elon bloody Musk, who's going to become a trillionaire, I think. And we might have already done by since yesterday, because they just floated bloody SpaceX. You know, and that's it takes, that's the extreme example, but that competitiveness can actually create exciting things. But it's almost like knowing that at one point, and I guess this is true for all of life, to be a bit more kind of metaphorical, you, nothing stays good forever, does it? It gets sour in one way, or decays, or that spark has gone in that type of way. But that was a bit of a kind of offshoot question, really. I'm interested, actually. I mean, I was going to, because we're going to do a premiere, I believe, unless Mark found a premiere for this one, Path to Destruction, because we're going to get this, we're going to turn this around super quickly. It's going to be up Monday, Tuesday. You'll be reading it Monday, type of thing. Yeah, because the release is out. And I purposely asked for a delay because I've just finished an Eastman's book. Like, literally, that was the call I was on before. We're just reading through the chapters, and it's pretty much done. So I was able to kind of focus on it now, focus on this interview now. So I think we're doing Path to Destruction, but that kind of fits in really nicely with what we're saying. Like, it kind of feels like humanity is on the path to destruction in many ways. I mean, I'm kind of watching with what do they call it when you're watching with kind of, oh man, my brain is completely empty today, when you're looking at things out of kind of, it's a fear that, oh, I can't think of the word at all, the phrase, but basically watching America kind of in awe but in fear at the same time, because you're sending people up to further than people have ever got in space before on that recent Artemis mission. You're hosting the World Cup and doing all this mad stuff, but yet also doing the most atrocious things, and Trump is an awful person. So I think America, I'm watching especially, and it's a great example of, it does feel like humanity is on a path to destruction really at the moment, doesn't it?
I mean, yes, but at the same time, I'm 45 at this point. It's been presented to me since youth that we're living in the end times. So it's like all kind of par for the course. You know, whenever you have a species that's getting ready to leave the planet, things are going to be chaotic, and that's what we're preparing for. We're preparing to leave the planet and go, you know, seed another, you know, planet in another unknown space in the universe, and that can be expected when you have, you know, a race getting ready to leave the planet to go seed another. You know, that things are going to fall into chaos. So to me, it's like I said, it's kind of par for the course, and yeah, it does seem like we're headed towards, you know, destruction, and that's why, you know, I put this stuff down. But I think I wasn't like meaning like the world is on a path to destruction. I'm thinking more like the individual itself is on a path to destruction. I think that the individual's contribution to themselves is on the path to destruction, because you see so many people just letting fentanyl and drugs and all this stupid shit fuck them up and take them away from the people they love and destroy the families that they're a part of. You know, they call opiate, and they've called it for centuries, the killer of nations. You know what I mean? It's a tool for war, and
Yeah.
and it's being used as a tool for war right now, and that's what's happening to America, and that's why you're seeing us fight the fights that we're fighting, is because, you know, we're being infiltrated in the sense that a lot of people aren't thinking about. You know, and opium is one of them. You know, fentanyl is one
Yeah.
of them. And, you know, while, you know, they're not like saying, hey, like, our republic is going to send drugs to your country to kill you publicly, that's what they're doing. And we know it. And we still
Yeah.
have to fight against that. Now, I'm not saying every single war is justified or right, but if somebody comes and punches you in the nose, you're not just going to stand there, hopefully, and let them do it
No.
again.
Mm.
So, with that being said, like, that's my rules of engagement. As for Trump as a person, like, he's brash and he's an asshole and fucking, like, we all know he sucks. But, like, not everybody in his party sucks. And just same as, like, on the other side, like, you know,
Yeah,
not
yeah, yeah.
everybody in their party sucks. You gotta remember, like, the world is filled with bad humans. And there's bad humans on both sides. And it's our job as people to acknowledge that and do our best to just not be a bad human. I mean, that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned in my life, because I started off really rough. You know, I was in group homes from 12 until I was, you know, young adult, and I've been on my own basically ever since. And being from that kind of like place, you know, growing up in group homes, you know, it was fight or flight. You know, I was fighting for my life. So, you know, there was nothing on the board that I wouldn't do to make sure that I was okay. But eventually I realized that, like, I was hurting people to make sure that I was okay. And that wasn't okay. And eventually that grew me into, you know, the place that I'm at, and the person that I am now, which is, you know, I try to take care of my people the best I can. That's why I work so hard. That's why I make sure everything I do is I'm doing my absolute best to become the best that I can at it. So that way I can be the best for the people that I love, that support me.
That's a
So,
brilliant answer. That's an amazing answer, right from start to finish, and way better than I ever thought. You know, because the next question was, where do you find light? But you've already kind of given me that, and that's in,
yeah,
by the way, that just self improvement and just constantly developing and being true to yourself. You're going to really enjoy Eastman's book. A lot of what you're saying there resonates with his journey, which also elements of resonate with my own journey as well. And that's, yeah, I think it's quite poignant that you're saying that, when I was reading passages of his book to him earlier on that we've been doing together, and we were just double checking them, and they're exactly that, really, and kind of that real, you know, that a lot of times, you know, like, yeah, crime is a necessity at certain points for people of working class or people in really, really challenged circumstances. It's a
yeah,
necessity in one way or another, and that because of the systems. And that's fascinating what you said about opiates. I'm going on a right tangent now, because the other day it was this an anniversary of when Britain colonized Hong Kong. And the whole history of that in China relates to an opiate issue, because the British and the Europeans were using that as a main gate to get opium through, which had caused loads of people to be addicted to it in China, which led to Britain taking over loads of parts of China. And this was in the 1800s, late
destroyer
1800s.
of nations.
I just had that on the radio while I was driving, and just, you know, I think that's kind of despicable. And I want to go back to
So
like the end of
despicable.
the world, when you're talking about, like, you know, going to another planet. How do you feel? Because I love the idea of space travel. I do think that humans need to leave this planet because we've trashed it so much. But I don't know how I feel about colonizing space, because I hate the word colony and colonizing anyway.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
to go and
I,
trash another planet makes me really sad. Like,
yeah. Well, I think the human race is probably a lot older than we give it credit for. And I think that this has been a long journey that's led us to this point. And, you know, it can't be, you know, just chance that all of a sudden we figured out, you know, electricity and, you know, how to split the atom and all that stuff. Like, I mean, this came about because it was prepared for us to discover it, and because the time's right for us to discover it. So, with that being said, it's like, you know, people are like, oh, are there aliens and stuff like that? It's like, why wouldn't there be? We're here. I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, it's, if this perfect situation happened for us to perfectly be birthed of this earth and grow forth into the light that we exist in and bear fruit, what's to say that it wasn't a perfect opportunity for it somewhere else in this massive black space we call the universe and galaxy? I mean, so I think it's like so narrow-sighted to say, oh, we're the only thing that exists in the entire galaxy.
Yeah.
Like, dude, what the chances are that this is the millionth planet we've occupied for all we know.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, like, I just like to think that, like, I think the most important thing that we could ever really do as a species is to try and find the whole purpose and reason to be good to the neighbor that's next to you, to be good to each other. Because, I mean, like, without that, like, well, war happens and people die and it's needless and it's pointless. And it gains nothing except for more hate, more evil, and more wickedness. So it's like, it starts right here in all of us. So it's like, and you got to think, like, we're never going to see the next planet. We're going to die before that. So we're going to meet the creator of this universe or whatever spirit that is, because I do believe in the next life. I mean, my beliefs is that Jesus, he lived and that, he came down into this earth and blessed us with that spirit, and it's lived on, and the peace that he, preached to us is important because it's led, people like myself to have belief in the next life and to look inside myself and say, you know what? I'm not living right. Not because I have something to gain, but because I'm losing everything of myself by being contrary to my natural nature. And I believe the nature of man is truly peace and love and harmony. And it's in us all, but it takes a minute to find it because the world is such a harsh place to be. So it's so easy to just get caught up and like lose yourself in that hate and that darkness. And it's like, for me, it's like the end of the world happens one person at a time, every day. So it's like, if you're not living towards your end of the world, and I'm not saying like you have to believe in Jesus and heaven and hell all exist. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that's my truth. I would be lying if I didn't, because I had my experiences that led me to that. But I also believe that the universe would touch any person they need to in order for them to understand that it loves them, whatever it is. You can call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it, Buddha, you can call it whatever you want.
A higher power or some type of creator. Yeah.
But I think it's Earth. I think Earth is God, basically, and we live in its spirit, and it's constantly telling us, like, hey, like, it's okay, I love you. And, the only way that we lose its love is if we choose hate. Then it can't receive us back. That's when the darkness gets, and we all know the darkness is there. We can all feel it. So, like, my belief is that, the people that don't come back and go back to the light, quote unquote, are the people that chose to be in the darkness, and that's where they get. That's what they're given. You manifest your own reality. And if your reality is dark, that's where you're headed towards, and that's what you're going to get. But if you believe that, like, you love the people around you and you believe in yourself and you try to do the best things that you can, I think that leads us back to where we belong, whatever place that is, wherever that place is, and in that, knowing that you're doing your best and you're putting, yourself in a position that you are absolutely listening to what the universe is telling you and trying to live in natural order of it, and being kind to creation and doing your best to help support it, including, be healthy to yourself, you're going to find, like, your path that you're supposed to be on. And then you find, your strength and comfort of, like, oh, hey, like, I can live my life and I don't have to worry about what other people are telling me, like, about, like, what the truth is of reality, because my truth is here inside me.
Yeah.
I can be a drum and bass junglist DJ, and I can go be with those people and find myself talking to some of the most pleasing people I've ever met in my life that all love the same music as I do, and know that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
And
wow.
That's where I found myself, and that's why I make drum and bass. It's like it's our opportunity to tell our story of what time it is, and what time it is very well may be destroying this planet. We very well may be on a path to total destruction in your regards. You know what I mean? But I think the only way to fix it is to look at the individual, and like, it starts at home. You know, you want to reverse this. We want to stop this. Well, hey, you know what? Like, you need to like stop hurting the people around you. Start with that, and then worry about everybody. You know, or what the next step is. And,
yeah. I love that, man. That's amazing. That's a really, really nice, touching, very poignant, and very thoughtful way of ending the interview. That's amazing. I wasn't expecting that at all, and that was amazing. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to having that as kind of a message on our website in our interview and stuff, and perhaps Mark will use it in his socials as well. But you've seen the questions. I sent the questions so we didn't go off track. I think I've gone off track more than you have on this occasion. It's a Saturday afternoon, and I've had a great day, to be honest. I've had the right balance of work and pleasure and social stuff, and the sun's coming through. It's nice. I'm going to stick to the script here, and I'm going to say, like, we've done a whole. I can't do a whole interview about an EP called Chemicals without asking you for your favorite chemical. I started with asking you what the last thing you cut was. I need to ask you what your favorite chemical is, and I think from what you've just said, I might have an idea what you might answer here.
Ooh, no, I'm going to throw a curveball at you. It's denatured alcohol.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, you've taken it back to kind of on a regular level. I thought you might have said, like, whatever the chemical that love is. I mean, is it serotonin or dopamine? Whatever the chemical that's released in your brain when you feel love and when you feel all that positive energy that you've just spoken about, I think. And as I was talking, because I was thinking I've got a number of things that I could answer in that question, really, including stuff like, whatever the polymers are to make vinyl records and stuff like that. There's many great chemicals that we have in our life which create the things that we have around us and stuff, but no, I think good old alcohol.
It's a great cleaning agent, and we take black Sharpies to label our cases of what the gear is inside the cases. You just spray a little bit of that onto the case and take a rag, and that black, permanent Sharpie is gone.
Bosh. Yeah. Go on. Amazing. I mean, there is another question. What comes after the Chemicals EP? Do you have anything up your sleeve? You must be working on another kind of batch of tunes, really, or another body of work and stuff.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because back to kind of my computer situation. The Chemicals EP is me pushing my computer to absolute breaking points. It coughs blood. I can't even open any of those sessions anymore and hit the space bar and have it play. It just goes and just coughs blood instantly. So I've slowed down. I haven't been making any beats. I did send you one that I was messing around with, and it's the BPM. I whistled the tune and I recorded it, and then I figured out what BPM it was, and it was 66.6 beats per minute.
Oh,
and I was like, okay, cool, this is wild. And it's always funny how that number pops up in my life. Like, you'd be surprised. So what I'm trying to do here is basically get a new machine, because I'm using an i9. I promised my wife when we bought this in 2019, because it was like almost $9,000 for this machine, and I've never had a good computer to make music with, at least not of recent time. So she said, okay, we can buy this, and we did. And I told her, I said, I'm not going to get another computer until I get signed. And she said, all right, deal. And so I did it. I got signed by 3 labels over the past year. And that means I'm getting a new computer. I've spec'd out an M4. It's going to cost a little over $4,000 for the Mac Studio. So I'm in the process of finishing my build with my car. And then as soon as I finish that, then I'm going to focus on getting a new machine. And then we're really going to see what I'm able to do. Because in order to get the songs to where they're at, I'm bouncing down to audio so early, and it's sad, because I lose all control of everything as soon as it turns into audio, and it's you can always affect audio and stuff like that, but as soon as it turns into audio and you commit to tape, you lose a lot of molding capabilities and progressive capabilities of the softwares that we use. So I can't wait to get this computer and see what I can do on a machine that's not going to cough blood, but let me actually work. So I say stay tuned, because I'm about to hopefully take us all on a ride, because I mean that's where it starts first, is that I love this sound and I love what it does to me. And you know, it's like the things that I look for is I need to hear a sound I've never heard before. I need to have a feeling in my heart. I have to feel it connect with me, and it's got to make me want to get up and just fucking rock out. Like I need to like feel something to where like it's just like, yes, like this makes me want to go out and have fun and do something crazy, or just, you know, be wild and not care. Like, and that's what I love about drum and bass. And it's like, yeah, like the darkness is something, you know, obviously that we peer into. So it's like we're constantly drawing it out. But I mean, like, you know, once you find your peace, you just realize darkness is just another part of life. And
it's another color to paint with.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not something to necessarily be afraid of. And you know, it's got its own beauty. And inside the light and the dark is where you catch all these shadows that is us. And this is the sound of light and dark colliding, and you know, I love it. Like I couldn't think of any other thing to do with my life. Like if I didn't have drum and bass, like I wouldn't be me.
Go on. I love that. No, that is where we end the interview. That's amazing. That's a really nice point to end that on. That's wicked.
One more thing.